Welcome back to Sprague Homestead. I'm Kanan.
I'm Nikki.
And if you're homesteading like us, you're probably trying to get your money to stretch as far as possible. Nobody wants to waste money. So today we're going to give you 7 ways, or the 7 biggest ways homesteaders waste their money. So item number 1 on our list is that there are people that want to grow everything.
Part of this is probably from experience. I know this, but it's, you go online and you see these people that are growing artichokes and tomatillos and rainbow peppers and tomatoes, and you're sitting in zone 5. And we had come out of Mississippi right before we got here, and I was used to growing everything, right? And we got here and I found out that I can't grow hardly any of that without greenhouses or shade cloth, frost blankets, whatever it is. Varies a little bit season by season. And that's probably the biggest thing is, you're trying to grow everything all at once, and half of it's not working because it's so much work to try and nurse those tomatoes along or those tomatillos or whatever. And the other thing is people just get so tied up trying to maintain all these beds at once or all this in-ground garden space. And, we say this a lot in a lot of videos. You gotta learn to walk before you start running. And when you're trying to do too much too soon, a lot of the time, plants die. It's just kind of the way it is.
Second way people waste money is that they try to follow trends. And I think everybody's like that. Every year seems to be the new hotness, right? You've got a fresh purple tomato, or you've got something else. The trends will waste your money.
This is especially true in livestock. Having survived the llama trend, the ostrich trend, the emu trend, the miniature everything trend, I'm seeing a lot of miniature Nubians right now, and just all kinds of little fadsy stuff, right? And people go and they spend way too much. I will say this for Joel Salatin, because this is one of my favorite paraphrased quotes out of his book, or one of his books. And he says, or by the time you hear about a trend or the hot new thing, it's already over, right? The only guys making money are the guys who were in it that are now trying to get you into it because it's already on the downhill slope. And having been in llamas since like 1993, I can tell you this is true, because my parents, with the initial herd that we bought, paid like $23,000. Unbeknownst to us, llamas were already sliding back down over the hill. And within maybe 5 years, that same herd would have been worth maybe $5,000. So if by the time you hear about these trends, they're over. It's really pretty much over.
So item 3 on our list is growing outside of your zone. Nikki mentioned where you want to grow everything. Well, there's a lot of people, again, like she said, you want to grow tomatoes and everything else that's great for the South, but here out on the West Coast in the high desert, it's not going to grow very well.
And there's a lot of plants that have like a girlfriend this year gave me some Alaskan tomatoes, Siberian tomatoes. So there's a lot of stuff that will grow in every zone. So you just need to find the stuff that's more friendly for your zone. Like for flowers, I love carnations. My favorite flower. I can't grow them here, but I can get close. I can grow dianthus, which looks really similar, especially if you get some of the really fluffy, I'm going to call it fluffy, multiple petal kind. Garlic is another one. It doesn't do you any good to buy a garlic that grows really well in the Southeast. If you're, again, in zone 5, 6, I have to be very particular about what I grow. I can grow almost anything, but I have to be far more selective on what varieties and strains that I grow.
Right. So the next one on our list, Nikki had mentioned before about growing everything. Well, Old MacDonald, if you remember that song from when you were a kid, Old MacDonald had everything, right? Chickens, ducks, geese, quail, dogs, cats, llamas, goats.
I don't think Old MacDonald had some of that.
Oh, man, maybe we are Old MacDonald talking about all the stuff we have around here. But Old MacDonald had everything, and having everything costs a lot of money and can waste a lot of money, too.
Yeah, especially what I like to call collectors. And this seems to happen a lot with new homesteaders. You get excited, you've got land, and I'm going to do, all of this stuff, and you don't do enough research on the front end, and you bring in a lot of really bad choices. So I've seen people that will, they really, really want to do milk goats at some point, and they bring in all these weird crossbred goats, and none of them are milkers, and none of them are meat goats, and they're just eating food and not really putting out anything. The same thing goes with, and anybody who's watched the rabbit videos knows, the dreaded meat mutt, same thing. You've got to be really careful. Do you want 400 rabbits that only put out 3 babies? Or would it be better to save up, slow down, and get a couple of what you really want or what you really need that will put out like 8 to 10? So you got to be really careful. Don't take in everything. And we see these ads on Craigslist all the time of starting a farm, taking in your free unwanted animals. And it's like, no, don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. All right, so number 5 on our list is doing it because an influencer does it. Now, this isn't a trend, right? Every year there seems to be a new trend. But as Nikki mentioned, a quote from Joel Salatin, or a paraphrase quote from Joel Salatin, we see a lot of people that follow influencers. Salatin being one. He is an awesome salesman at his stuff. And how many people have you seen, if you've been around a while, that say, I'm doing this the Joel Salatin way? Well, that's following an influencer versus a trend. And a lot of people waste a whole lot of money trying to be like somebody else.
Oh, yeah. And this goes for some of these YouTube channels that are doing colony rabbits, that I could tell you a whole lot of nitty-gritty stories behind some of those. Or there was a Homestead channel for a while that was doing an emu, just basically to make videos about having an emu. It had no actual application. It was just a pig pet.
Yeah.
So, be careful about jumping on to, well, so-and-so is doing it. Well, sometimes these things are like really worthwhile, but maybe it doesn't work for your area.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of that where, I'm tractoring all my rabbits and poultry and all that. Well, if you're like us and you live in the desert and you only have grass till like the end of June, probably not worth the cost and the trouble to build a lot of tractors if you don't have anything to graze them on.
Yeah. And if case, you may want to, find an influencer in your area if you want to follow somebody versus finding somebody across the country that is in a different growing zone with different weather patterns and everything else. Local is a whole lot better and will waste a lot less money that way. So item number 6 is buying gadgets over building skills. Now, here's a good example that we've talked about in multiple videos lately. For 8 years, Nikki has wanted to milk goats. Now, I have stayed with her and she said, I want to build a stanchion and I want to do all this other stuff. Well, we decided to buy some gadgets. I'll just call it that. We bought an stanchion eventually because after 8 years, we just figured out, you know what? Waiting another year to build a stanchion is just going to put it off. So we just went ahead and bought one. But I have drugged my feet on buying more gadgets for milking. Nikki hand milked for about 8 days straight. And when she came in and said, I milked the goats, my hands are great. They weren't that bad. But I finally relented on buying an easy milker, basically a suction tool with
It's an utterly easy. I'll do a review video on it here pretty soon. It's a hand pump vacuum milker. But like he's saying, I didn't rush out and buy this thing right away, right? I built the skill. I know if my milker breaks tomorrow, I can still milk because I've now got the rhythm and figured out how to do it. And anybody who thinks milking a goat is easy, I challenge you to start and learn because there is a technique to it. It's not just grab on and go. It's not that simple. It looks that simple. It is not that simple.
Right.
But there's a lot of really expensive, nice milkers. You can get the double T, vacuum lines, multiple animal milkers, all that kind of stuff. And we see a lot of people that rush right out and do that. And then something happens and it breaks. And, oh my God, now I can't even milk the goats because how do I do this? Pressure canners are great. I don't suggest that people start with the electric. I just got an electric. Speeds me up and it's great. But if something happens to that and I don't have power, then I can't can. Whereas my other one, my Presto 23 quart that I've had for a million years, I can still put on the propane burner and still pressure can because I've done it for a long time and I've got the skill to do it. So you've got to be careful. Gadgets are great. We've talked about that in another video of saving you time, saving you money, whatever. But you've got to be careful about them to the point that they erase the skill that you're trying to learn.
Right.
They shouldn't take the place of the skill. If you've already learned how to do it and know how to do it, and then buy the gadget to help speed yourself up or whatever, that's fine. But be careful about buying too much stuff on the front end.
And the last thing that we constantly see is that people are finicky and they just want to spend into perfection.
Yeah, there's a lot of examples on this. Probably the biggest thing is trying to buy the perfect property or what they think the perfect property is. And then you get there and you find out that it really doesn't work for anything you want to do. Animals are another thing. We see that a lot where people start with $500 and $600 and $700 Nubian goats because they want to make milk and they're going to do all this great stuff. And guys, I will tell you that my $75 goat Nubians that I have worked with for a long time, they milk just fine. So is it worth the high dollar pedigree paperwork and all that? Depends on what you're doing with them. Was this one worth her $800 piece of paper? No, probably not. She's been absolutely the greatest dog I've ever owned, but the piece of paper didn't mean anything. So you've just got to be able to do the research, I think, on the front end and know what it is that you're buying and not so much the perception.
Right. Don't look for the property of 8 to 10 acres and I've got to have a running stream throughout the year and I've got to have all kinds of stuff, because you may be sitting out there for a long time trying to satisfy that list. And when you get there, it's probably going to be completely overinflated on price. Oh my gosh, Sheila just licked my ear. So that is it. That is the 7 biggest money wasters on the homestead. If you guys have any more than that, go ahead and drop them down in the comments. Or if you want to challenge some of our thinking on these 7.
Collies are never a waste of money. I'm just going to say that.
That's always debatable. Go ahead and throw it down in the comments if you guys have any additions, subtractions, or you want to challenge us on what we got. Otherwise, thanks for stopping by. We're leaving out on Spray River Homestead.
Happy homesteading.